Hey there, folks. You're very welcome. My name is Martha Fraser. I'm the founder of the Shine Adventure, and this lovely lady here is Máirín O'Reilly from morepr.com. And Maureen recently worked with me on my event, which is the Shine Adventure. And before I worked with Maureen, I had no clue about PR. I was probably, I'd say, the greenest client that Maureen ever had. So I work online. I'm an online business strategist, and I help people get their business online and create online programs. But when it came to PR and this event, I learned a lot from working with Maureen. So you're very welcome, Maureen.
Thank you.
So, was I the greenest client you ever had?
No, well, I suppose it's a long time since I had somebody that didn't realise how difficult it was to get coverage in papers.
Yeah.
Because you're working on the online, and when you publish, and that's it.
Mm.
Whereas we have to get through the journalists and make sure that they find it newsy enough so that they'll use your story. So it's precarious, it's difficult, it's nerve-wracking. Nothing is ever guaranteed, but you give it your best shot, and I'm a long time at it, so I have a good success rate, thank God, but it's not easy all the time.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I think, so we'll probably just go back to the start about how we started on the PR for the event. I know, I suppose one of the first things, if I had my way back again, I think one of the lessons I learned by working with you was that if I was to do, well, actually anything from now on, I would work with a PR person from the start, because I remember you saying to me, down to picking the date, picking the venue, picking, is it clashing, even choosing the name of the event, that if I had my way, I would have worked with you earlier on in the planning process rather than when I brought you in, because I kind of thought, oh, I need to get into the press, so I'll get PR. Whereas it actually starts further back than that, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, in the planning of an event or in the planning of anything, it really a campaign. And that's why when I work on an ongoing basis with clients, that I can influence it from the beginning and make it easier to get the coverage. So having your ducks in the row from the very beginning and having things in place and having enough of a lead time to be able to let, say, the magazines know, because the magazines, it's usually a 6-week lead time. So if you only bring me in 5 weeks before the event, well, we're definitely not going to get magazines. Maybe after the event, but not in advance of the event. So to have those kind of things planned, and even I would influence what people would call their event so that it would work in a press release, that it would work for the media as well.
Yeah.
And simplifying that.
Yeah, Sharon unfortunately can't hear all the conversation, so she's going to hop off. I wonder why can't she hear it? I can hear you fine. It's being recorded.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, it's being recorded, so we'll have the recording for later. So so I think so that's definitely one of the things that I would have done differently, is I would have maybe brought you in earlier. But I know, say, the first thing that when we started working together was on the press release. And I really didn't realize, first of all, how hard it was to write a press release. And that's why I was so glad I was working with you, because, to be honest, you practically wrote it. Now, I know I had to give you nuggets, but it was you who shaped it and wrote it. And I think one of the things that I know I was bad at, when you gave me the assignment to kind of put the pieces together, I delayed in giving it to you, because part of me didn't actually want to, it's scary, my thing is all about the Shine Adventure. It's about shining and shining online. And now here I was, and I had to shine in the papers, where the thing is that all the stuff that I do online, it's my peers, it's people that I work with, it's people that know this business. Whereas when you go into the papers, it's Mary down the road, it's, Pat, that is, in the local shop, or someone you knew, your relative or whatever. Everyone's going to read it. So you shine even more to not even just people you work with, but in your whole environment, in your local neighborhood. So I think that even brought me to probably shine a little bit brighter. And that was actually scary, putting your story down and getting that out there. For me, that was challenging,
And, you know, it's the same as what was said again and again at the Shine Adventure workshop was get over yourself.
Completely.
And getting over yourself. And that barrier of, oh, gee, I really don't want to appear in the paper or appear on the television. And I'm all self-conscious. Yeah. And what do people think? Because you have to actually look at what's the objective, why am I doing this, and go on and get on and do it, and let's make the most of it and do it the best way we can.
Totally. And I think that's one thing that we covered as well was, you know, for a lot of businesses, they can hide under a rock, and not getting PR is actually them allowing themselves to stay under the rock. But one of the things that, so when we did the press release, what I loved about how you worked it then was hashtag get over yourself, Dolores, exactly. But what I loved about what you did was that someone else like yourself working in PR can see the client better than they can see themselves. You know, how you actually crafted the story. You know, it wasn't just here's the details of the event, put that in the paper. It was, let's create a story, let's create a headline, you know. And I was wowed at this. Like, I was just going, oh, right, okay, there's a story in this. I didn't realize there was a story in this. And how, you know, I was blown away, you know. And I don't think anyone else can do that for you. You know, it's very hard for you to look at yourself and create the story. And I think that's where, you know, the expertise of having someone like yourself, you know, can actually set your objective, you know.
And it's always easier to have a third person, as in somebody like me, to blow your trumpet. Because I can see what the great stuff you've done. I can see that you're highly qualified as a software engineer, that you've set up this whole business. You're now regarded as the guru in all things online. So, you know, people need, and the way I'd see it is people needed to know this. This was a very valuable event. That or maybe were already in business but needed another you know, revenue stream to add to their existing business, and this was the modern and the new technology that people need to get into. So I saw this as a very valuable message to get across to people, and I wanted to break it down and make it as simple as possible and not make it sound too complicated, so that they felt that they could access this as well, you know. So that's the way I would view the message. And then also then back to who's your audience. So we were either targeting business journalists or the human interest story. The background, your human interest story. And you were quite open about telling your story. You're a mum, small family, husband has now had to go to the UK. This is a very topical story, but people love to get inspiration from your type of story. And so it was a really valuable story to put out there, like that you've turned things around and that you have a focus and you have a plan, and you've managed to stay in Ireland as well, so that your two girls will get to live and be reared in Ireland, and your husband will come back because you have a plan in place. This inspires other people, and I see that message is very valuable for people to hear as well.
Yeah, and I think Claire Ryan just asked a question. If it's a small event workshop that I hold, maximum 10 women, do you think it is important to advertise on paper? And just one thing before, I'm going to give that question to Máirín, but the thing that I used to think before I started working with Máirín was that only big businesses have PR. Who am I to have PR? And that was, I think that was a subconscious thing. And it's only now when I see your question, Claire, that it actually made me realize that, no, if you want to be successful and if you want to get your message out there, everyone in business needs PR. I think that's, you know, obviously everyone's going to have different budgets. But, you know, I think, you know, Máirín has various different packages that can work with people, you know. Do you want to answer Claire's question?
Well, I've been running the DIY PR workshop for the last 5 years for small businesses who mightn't necessarily have the budget to hire me as a consultant to execute the campaign. But for Claire, an event with 10 women, it's not just one event that you're going to be running in the year. It's not just one workshop, training workshop you're going to be running in the year. So if you get media coverage in the local papers, you're developing your reputation. People will read that article, that it will look like the journalist has written it, and has endorsed you. So that endorsement in the papers, as I say, well, I read it in the paper.
Yeah.
Now you need to develop the relationship with the journalist, and they will, you know, that they know that what you're providing is very valuable as well. But so it's, if you do it for, say, one event, it's other events and other workshops, but you're using this online as well. You have your, I mean, back in 1998, when I began in PR, there was no online, there was no email. It was all manual. It was slow and laborious. Now, the content that you create for a PR campaign can be used on every other platform. So it's like a multiplier effect. So if it appears in the paper, you make sure that you put it on your social media platforms, and the reaction from people that will see that you've been in the paper, it's quite unbelievable. Isn't that right?
Yeah,
Martha?
I think it's funny. I was having a conversation with someone there yesterday, and we were saying about, you know, you hear different things. Oh, the newspaper is dead, and but what I really realized was that anyone can put a photo on Facebook, but when I put the photo of the newspaper on Facebook, all of a sudden it gave the event a massive credibility, because not everyone can get into the paper. You have to work to get into the paper. And by the paper saying, yes, you are good enough to go in here, I give you credibility, I would like my readers to read about your event, that is a massive kind of like hand up, you know, well done. And when I put it on Facebook, everyone was like, congratulations, oh my God, you're in the paper. And even myself, I was like, cheating, I'm in the paper. You know, so it made me feel good. It made the event look good. People were delighted to see me in the paper. I was getting text messages, emails. Oh, I saw you on the paper. And I'd love to, hopefully the papers will watch this interview afterwards. You know, the newspaper is not dead. It is alive and kicking with a strength and credibility that Facebook can't give you. You know?
Mm-hmm. And that was the thing. I remember I took the JPEGs with my phone. I posted them onto Facebook and Twitter. I tagged you in them, and then there was a flurry of activity. Suddenly, your event seemed to be real. It was really happening. It was like as if people doubted whether it was really happening. Once it was in the paper, it was real.
Yes, yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
And I was very interested to see the whole online community reacting to seeing it in the newspaper.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just amazing. You know, so, and the other thing as well is that if I was working with Máirín for longer, we would have worked on getting national coverage. But definitely. The lead.
We'll get a jet.
We'll get a jet, yeah. But the lead in time, like, that's the one thing that I'd say, you know, I ran this amazing, successful event. People loved it. But if I was doing it again, I would give myself more time to plan it. And not even just plan the beforehand, but what Máirín has since done once the event happened. He also got me in the papers after the event. You know, so I kind of thought, oh, well, the event is over. And she's like, no, it's the after, you know, it's the story afterwards, and it's the lead in afterwards. So, you know, I wouldn't have thought of all of that stuff, nor did I have the time to think about it, nor do I have the expertise to do it. So like,
and then that. On the day having the headspace, like we had two photographers, one came from one of the newspapers, and then we had our own photographer, and like, I was there on site, so I made sure that they got the photos. Yeah. And like the photographer was only there for about, I'd say 12 minutes from one of the papers, and we got 4 lovely photos into the paper with captions, you know, and it mentioning your name and the name of the event and the whole lot. So that all contributes to your reputation, your brand awareness. They gave a headline on it as well, wasn't it? No, the online, the Shine Adventure online workshop. So,
and I think like one of the things as well, like even coming up to the event, you know, I was actually going shopping for a dress for the event. And, you know, I just happened to say to Máirín, just in passing, she said, right, okay, don't buy any print, buy block colours, because the photographer and I was getting the event filmed. So you didn't want the pattern to be causing problems with photos. So even that smidgen of information, I was like, oh my God, I would never even have thought of that, you know. So I think just the kind of the security that I felt as I was creating the event, I knew that you were there kind of with me, kind of nearly kind of guiding me along, you know.
Yes, and you see, my main aim is to protect your brand and make sure you and your brand appear the best way possible at the event. So you had your beautiful branding, you had your beautiful setup in the room, very professional. It all reflected really well on your brand. You had pop-up stands coming out everywhere. There was sparkly background. There was the sound. The sound system was very professional. All of that reflected on your brand. And as I said to you, even no matter how many people turn up at this event, it will be a professional event. It will reflect well on your brand, and the message will go out of the type of work that you do, being at that high standard.
Yeah.
So it's worth investing time to do all those things right.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, I think there was probably so much that I didn't realize that you were thinking about, you know, like that, like the brand, you know, so many different things, you know, even like we met on several occasions for coffee beforehand, kind of planning meetings, and the nuggets of information that you give me, you know. So for anyone, let's say like Claire here now, Máirín, who's planning an event, even let's say, as she said, with 10 people, what would be the tips maybe that you would give someone like her planning an event like that? You know, as you said, like, would you go to PR? How would she?
Well, one of the things is, what is this workshop going to do?
Yeah.
What is the benefit of the workshop?
So she's
where is it going to take place?
She's a stylist for women.
She's a stylist. Okay. Right. So you've got the whole fashion sections and the fashion writers in the local papers. Is it a local Western region event?
It is, yeah. Go.
So the local regional papers are hugely valuable. Now, she uses the word advertise. Is it still important to advertise in the paper? Now, there's a difference between advertising and doing PR. Advertising, if you ring up the paper and you ask for an advert, they will put you through to the sales department. And what does the sales department want to do?
Make money.
Sell you an ad and charge you for money. Okay? So if it's a thing that you want, you're hoping that you might get some coverage, it's a journalist. So you need to appeal to a journalist that may have interest in the area that you're talking about. So locally, we have lots of fashion writers and bloggers as well. So you'd use the bloggers as well as the media. I mean, it's an integrated approach anymore. It's not just traditional media anymore. And also for that, I would definitely use visuals, high quality photos, so as to give an example of what were the outcome. What type of women are you targeting this at? Is it women that have been stay-at-home mums and now want to return to work? Is it professional women that have no time to actually style themselves? Is it expectant mums? You know, who is your target? And then angle it on that.
Oh, wow, that's great advice. That's really, like, this is where I just went, when you just start, I just go, right, you know, straight away, like, you know, you have 20 years experience in like 3 or 4 sentences. Like, it's amazing. And tell me, like, even there, like, you know, when I think Claire just posted a lot of work to do, great advice. Thank you, Máirín. So I think, like Claire, you know, or for anyone who's going to watch the replay of this, like straight away Máirín said, well, what's your angle? You know, what's your story? And again, you know, I think no matter what business it is, it's hard to see your angle, you know, when you're actually in the business. It's hard to see the wood from the trees, you know, or the whatever that phrase is. Yeah, and like straight away, you know, I don't think I would have thought about bloggers for Claire, you know. It's just like what you said, it's the integrated approach where you can straight away brainstorm in 10 minutes, you know.
On the styling aspect, I just love the operation transformation thing. The last day that, you know, when they do them all up and give them, and you just, the boost you're giving those women, and if you can Claire, if you can get across that idea of how beneficial and how much you like, helping these women, and probably that's why you do it as well. You probably love fashion as well, but the benefits, and because some people, I always trust my mother. My mother will go shopping with me. And she'll go, yeah, buy that. Now you'll get lots of wear out of that. Yeah. That's flattering. Or she'll say, yeah, you look slim in that, and then I kind of wonder, why am I fat? But you can trust your mother. Yeah. But at least she'll be honest with me, or going, you go for a walk. Are you going for any walks these times? But lots of people don't have that, and that boost that you give somebody, no more than your online workshop, that people maybe stuck in a rut and need that extra revenue, how it'll benefit from. I suppose that's how I view every press release, is how is this going to benefit people, and then my belief in that story is how I sell it to the journalist then.
Yeah,
so they know that I believe in it, and if I believe in it, they can see that it's worthwhile putting in the papers. Yeah. We're competing against thousands of other stories,
And I think the thing is as well is that you have a relationship with these people, with the journalists, that other people, like say myself, I don't have that relationship, so it's much easier for you to get, let's say, in the door with an article than it would be for me. Really, wouldn't it?
Well, one of the advantages, especially in the local papers, is I hope they usually open my press releases to see what is for them this week. Yes. They know that my copy will be clean. They know that I will have all the information in it that's needed. They won't need to come back to me. Yes. I will probably have a photo with it that's good quality, that will look attractive in the paper. Yeah. And usually the projects I get involved in are of value. So I do a lot of community development type projects. And I've been heavily involved in Junior Chamber over the years. So there's a voluntary aspect there as well. So they know I'm into everything. Yeah. So that they can trust what I'm sending them in, and that I'll have all the details, making it easier for them to use it. Yeah. On the other hand, though, you need to be aware is that a lot of the papers and magazines are advertising led. So you will see that there are articles from certain businesses that appear and that seem to get a lot of coverage. And that is because they have a budget for advertising. So at times it is important to consider having a budget for ads.
Yes. Okay. So that I know that's one thing I did with one of the papers was I got, when I purchased the ad, I also got the editorial as well, or maybe it's not an editorial, an article in as well. So I suppose
article and the photo. You got the article and the photo, but you wouldn't have gotten that coverage only for you had it ready to go.
Well, that's also true, yeah. And I think as well, the other thing was that Máirín, like without you, I didn't know any press photographers. You recommended press photographers to me, and I think, I do know some photographers, but having worked with the press photographers, they know the newspapers, they know what they want, they know what they don't want, they're used to them. It's a different type of photography, and that's even another lesson, and they can take those shots that the paper wants in literally 15 minutes. And I think that's something that I didn't understand either, so without that insight from you, I would probably have got a friend of mine who's an amazing photographer, but she may not have had the press connections.
Particularly now for national media, they won't accept, photos from non-press photographers. So there's a certain number of photographers that are, press photographers. So you need to use a press photographer if you want to get into the national media. Also, the speed at which they work, they turn the photos around fast. They know how to take them the way they need to be used, and they will caption them for you. That's where I would control the message. I would give them the actual text of the caption, and they ensure that they spell the names correctly, they gather the names and put them into that caption.
Yeah, and actually,
because sending in a photo without a caption is useless.
And actually, that's something as well that I didn't realize was, you know, I remember we were you wanted to compose the caption for the photograph, and I was like, yeah, you know, I just thought it was simple line, Martha Fraser with Breda Fox from Leo, and you were like, no, you know, you have to get the titles right and position it with the story, and it's amazing. I think there were so many different points of how we work together that even just made it all seamless.
Well, I've been doing it for so long. I do these things just.
I know, natural.
It's normal for me. So normally in advance of an event like that, I would like to have a photo list. And so just to make sure that I had gotten through all the speakers, and I would have a tick. I would tick off the photos. So I'd need 1s, 2s, 3s, and then group shot, and then maybe the event itself, speaker shots and so on, so that you'd have as many, like if you have the photographer there on site for 1 hour, that you've maximized the benefit of having him there.
Yes.
Now you pay him for 1 hour, but he does a whole load of work afterwards, of course. So anybody who's looking into hiring a press photographer, do realize that there's loads of work that they do hours afterwards, plus then they distribute them to the papers for you for that price as well. You need to check if you want to use photos, again, that whether that photographer will give you copyright and will it allow you, or will there be an extra fee. But I do recommend that you use press photographers. Now, sometimes when you're stuck, if you have a good quality digital camera, and do it outside in daylight if possible. Usually the color will come up best. But again, then you need to have somebody who knows how to push the photo caption into the data in the file and the JPEG and so on. Now, I know how to do that. And some people find it cumbersome. I will go in and check that the photographer has the captions right.
Yes.
All along, for me, it's controlling the message, controlling the brand, making sure it comes out the right way, you know. Even at an event, if you don't have a press photographer and you need to get through 40 people in a half-hour coffee break, it's going to be slow and it's going to be cumbersome, because you need to even have the experience of actually approaching people, asking them will they stand into a shot.
Yes.
You might have seen me.
Yes.
I was probably I was pushing people around practically.
Yeah. And I think the one thing as well was that it actually allowed me, because my event was one day, there was a tea break and a lunch break, and there was loads of people that I wanted to talk to. Now, if Máirín wasn't there, I would have to have been the one going around hustling people into photos, whereas it allowed me, Máirín grabbed me and said, get into that photo, get into that one. Okay, you're free now. So I could actually go and meet people and talk to the people who came to the event. So that actually, I'm only even realizing now that gave me that free time to do that. And
yeah, and I become your minder in a way, because I go and snatch you away from somebody, and it's me that looks like I'm being bad-mannered instead of you looking like you're walking away from somebody. And then I allow you. That's what I do with my clients all the time, because I need them to come with me for the photo, and then I let them back in again.
Yes.
And then I'll be looking at, okay, because for one of the photographers, he was a Galway photographer, so I wanted to make sure that the people that were photoed were from Galway. So I was scanning the room, going and looking for the faces that I knew that were Galway, so as to make sure that they were local faces that could be used. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm just seeing there, Claire put in the quote that she uses is, my workshops create a style you love and love your body shape in. That's
to dress, which is great, rather than going on.
I would perhaps maybe get a little bit more specific, Claire, because, you know, for older women, they're wondering, is this all going to be for 20-year-olds, or the 20-year-olds are going to be wondering, is this all for nanas, you know, or is it for mothers? I just, what would you think, Máirín?
Yeah, well, you see, for a workshop, I'd try and target it because you know, she might have an idea of who, and then from the community that she already has, you know, maybe there's clients she's already had who have already mentioned that they have a sister or a first cousin or a sister-in-law that would love this, and so really, when it is 10 places, it's the direct contact is how it's going to sell.
Yeah.
You could use this to increase awareness for maybe your one-to-one product then on the longer term, you see.
Yeah.
Would that be Dara that has joined us from Spookum?
Yeah, Dara just joined. Welcome, Dara. And I see Betty O'Neill is here as well. You're very, very welcome. Thanks for joining, guys. So I hope you watch the replay of this, because some of the stuff we've covered at the start has been really, really valuable that Máirín sharing. She's kind of given a little bit of a mini masterclass here in PR. And also, if anyone wants, Máirín has created this incredible I'm just sharing the link here for it's a press release checklist. So if you're writing a press release and if you're going to the papers, then this checklist, if you click on this link here, if you click on the link above, you'll get onto her email list. And this, you'll actually get an email asking you to confirm your subscription. And once you confirm your subscription, you'll get an email with the checklist. And it's really an essential piece of information that, to be honest, I think stick it up on your wall so that you're continuously looking at it and reminding you to get your brand out there and to get into the paper. And if you are trying to write a press release, you know, you can use that, or of course you can contact Máirín to work with her. And just one more thing, that if you subscribe to this, then it will it may go into your promotions or your junk folder. So just look for an email from Máirín O'Reilly. So so Máirín, let me see now. God, I have so much that I want to talk to you about. So we've talked about, I think, when you're planning, when you have the concept of your event. As I said, if I had my time back again, that's when I would actually go and get PR.
One of the things that went against us was the date, right?
And this is something you would have changed, I think, if we had worked together earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the Monday after. Am I right in thinking it was the Monday after Easter? Sorry,
so it was the week after. I think
schools were back. You saying
schools were back a week at that stage?
Yes, schools were back a week. However, everybody was up in a heap because they'd had almost 3 bank holidays in 3 weeks, right? There was St. Patrick's Day, and then all the schools shut down for 2.5 weeks, right? So there was St. Patrick's Day, which is a Thursday. Then the following week there was Good Friday, so it was a short week. So you had 2 short weeks. Then the following was Monday, Easter Monday. So you had 3 weeks in a row that were short weeks for the newspapers.
And now that's the Easter Rising centenary.
Yes.
So the papers were full with the celebrations from, if anyone is watching this from the States or the UK, so it was a 100-year celebration for a big moment in Irish history. So the newspapers were full with this, and yeah, I think that was one thing that really kind of actually created a big hurdle of trying to get into the. Now we still got into the paper, but it would have been it would have been better if we got in the week before. So I think if we were working together sooner from the start, you would have. I wouldn't even have thought of that. I think you would have probably highlighted that to me from the start, wouldn't you?
Because even for a selling point of view, people had taken holidays. I knew one editor had taken 2 weeks holidays, so I couldn't get hands on him. And then while he was gone, you know, it was going to be very precarious for me. Who else would take the story, and in that particular paper? But they all gave us coverage in the heel of the hunt, and you got kind of a drip feed of nearly 3 to 4 weeks of coverage in some media. It was perfect. So,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So, but if I was, and even for you from a sales point of view, people were switched off. If you're around holidays, people are switched off. And so then we're back to work on Monday, and then, you know, our things were back to normal, should we say, on the Monday, and then the following Saturday was your event.
Yeah.
And people were maybe playing catch up.
Yeah.
Now you did have a attendance.
Yeah, I know the attendance was great.
I think to increase your chances of getting the coverage and making the sales.
Yeah, and I think as well for the stress for anyone running an event, I know coming up to the event, like it's my very first event that I ever ran. I'm so proud of it, but it's really stressful because you're trying to get bums on seats. So if I had worked with you sooner, and if we had, when do you think is a good, how many weeks before an event is a good time to get in the paper, ideally?
I start 5 weeks in advance of the event, but you try and create a few different stories.
Yes.
And you angle it at different angles. Like for example, this one here now, which was lovely. I don't know whether you can see it.
Yeah.
This one, the Athenry mum goes from redundancy to busy online business.
Oh,
so
yeah. Oh, I see that. Yeah.
So that headline was more of a human interest.
Yes.
Headline. Yeah. And the journalist put that headline on it. Okay.
Yeah.
So they had picked
headline actually, didn't
we? Yes. And but that was fine because they saw that angle in it, and they saw how that it would work for that section of the paper. And also, you know, in West of Ireland and in Galway, and you're based in Athenry, you know, it's great to hear a good, you know, positive story. And I think journalists are even more so looking for these, you know, recovery stories. So particularly when your husband is, you know, works in the construction industry, because that's the whole industry that really became decimated in 2008, 2009. So that, you know, that's one of the angles. And I would have written, I would have wanted to write a few different angled press releases. The other one that I had really wanted to happen for you was that each of the speakers, that our press release would have been tailored to their own local papers. Yeah. And that they would have sent it to their local papers. So they were she would say, in the spotlight because they were the local person. And then that would draw attention to now it would show them as being the expert in their field and being the local person, having been invited to attend your national event in Galway.
Yes. Yeah.
So they would have benefited from the PR and the exposure. Yeah. And hopefully their contacts would have seen and read about it. And then because they were involved, probably more people would have attended. Now, exactly. In the lead-in, we didn't have the time to roll all of that out.
No. And I think again that it comes down to something. Then the thing sounds a bit of echo that if you're planning an event, and it's not even an event, by the way. If anyone's watching this and they're just thinking about their business, how am I going to promote myself? How am I going to promote what I'm selling? How am I going to, you know, if I have a launch of a product, be it online or a real life product, then, you know, instead of maybe 6 weeks before the launch saying I'm going to get PR, when you have the concept about having a launch, you know, way back, I think that's when you pick up the phone and you say, hey, Máirín, you know, how can I work with you? And I think, you know, that's one thing. I know you have clients of all levels. You've corporate clients, you've one-to-one clients. You know, the thing is that even one consultation, I think, if that's all you can afford, or if you can afford, I know Máirín actually has an online program coming up, so she can connect with even more people. But the thing is that I think maybe to make contact and to say, right, well, this is my budget, how can we work it? What would you think, or what would you say to that?
Yes, and the thing is, what I find was that when people work with me, then they start to switch on to PR, and then they begin to actually see the opportunities, because the opportunities are there, and it's just to be ready and to be willing to spend the time and make the effort. Like recently, a client of mine he knew that an item was coming up on Down to Business with Bobby Kerr. So we had prepped a few things, and we sent tweets in to Bobby Kerr, and he read it out on air.
Okay.
So that was on a Saturday morning. I think I was just about up, and I was tweeting on behalf of my client and Bobby Kerr. Fair play to him, because we had made the effort to connect with him. He did actually read it, because it was linked with a topic that was being covered on the show.
Yes.
So like that, you see the opportunities, you watch out for the opportunities. Like that, when the Easter Rising was on, people, if they had some type of event or a product or some service that they could link in some way to that topic, well, then that was an angle. And you watch the season, you try and create stories, as in find the angle that the public want to read about, and how you'll connect with them. It's about connecting with people by people, and you develop your reputation through that.
Yeah, and I think one thing as well that, I mean, you know, my kids are small, I'm running a business. I actually don't have that much time to read the papers. So not alone connecting with stories, I don't even know what the stories are going out there. So another thing that I think that you do is that you read the papers because it's part of your job, but obviously you probably enjoy it too. But so, you know the journalists, the national journalists, you know, the stories. That was even something I remember you saying to me there one day, do you read this newspaper? And I was like, no, I just don't have time. So even kind of knowing the stories, like, there's so much that we take for granted.
And just because you're in the space at the moment that you don't have time to read the newspapers, it doesn't mean that loads of people do still read the papers.
They do.
And I have to say, our local and regional papers are read from the cover to cover. I know locally here, you have the Connacht Tribune and the City Tribune, which will be the traditional page for a newspaper. And they are kept for the full week in rural homes all over the county. One guy who lives in the city, and he'd be home at the weekend, and they'd make sure to hold on to the paper for him, so that he'll get to read the local news. Likewise, the Galway Advertiser. If you get to Friday evening and you haven't gotten to read the Galway Advertiser, you feel like you've missed out on what's going on.
I love the Advertiser. Yeah, it's great, and
likewise the Galway Independent. So it's and also what I find is, if I go and switch over to Galway Bay FM for a while, I'll hear a whole load of stuff going on about my locality that I mightn't have realised unless I was listening to it.
Exactly, and I think as well, to know, you know, when the different papers are out, you know, the audience that they all appeal to, and like that, they're, you know, we're so lucky to have good papers here in Galway. But I think another thing that actually you had mentioned, you know, the one thing, one client of yours, I loved this, he was going to an award ceremony, and you know, you text him. Maureen actually created the tweet, and she said, here, put that up on Twitter, and basically it said something to the effect of, wish me luck, I'm going for this award, wish me luck. So it was a call to action, and I think he got 300 tweets or retweets or something like that.
Oh, a ridiculous amount of feedback, because it was and like, he had been listed in the top 3 in his sector in Ireland, and he was a finalist for these awards. And so rather than coming across as sounding like you're being cocky, you know, looking for people's support, and people did. Yeah,
exactly. It was brilliant. So I'm just trying to think now, is there anything else that we'd like to cover? Or I think it was just, for me, it was an amazing experience working with yourself, you know, so thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I know it's not finished, because for me, I actually really realized the value of PR now. So I know that I really want to grow my brand, you know, the Shine Adventure. So, you know, we're going to continue working together, and I think it's nearly like working with someone in PR, it's like as though someone's got your back. You know, someone's kind of helping you kind of push yourself out there, kind of helping you to shine even brighter, because when you're doing PR, you have to really kind of stand tall and say, this is me, this is what I have to offer. And sometimes, I mean, I do a lot of online work, and I'm trying to help people to shine online, but shining in print media, in radio, in online, when you combine all of it together, then, I mean, it's a real bright star then, isn't it,
Yeah, well, and you see, you can use it, all that coverage, then you can use, if you've had an interview on the radio, if you've had an interview on the TV, you can then post it on all of your platforms. So it's content creation. It's high quality content creation.
Yes. And that's something actually I have to do now, is go back and collect all of that and put it on the media page, Post Shine Adventure media page. But so has anyone any more questions before we go? I'm just going to post that link again. So if anyone wants that press release checklist, make sure that you sign up and get that. And we will be putting it on Máirín's website as well. But for now, that's the link to get it. I just think kind of really, if you commit to PR, you're committing to your business. And sometimes, one of the questions I would ask people is, why have you not got PR? I think sometimes people, they like to hide in their business, and they want to make money, but they're afraid of putting themselves out there. So what would you say, Máirín, to people who maybe haven't thought about PR as an option?
Well, one of the key things is look around and see what is your competition doing. If you're browned off seeing your competition in the papers, they have a PR strategy, they have a communication strategy, they have a marketing strategy, and it's like you're working with your hand tied behind your back. This is all back to driving sales. Yeah. And people buy people. So if people feel that they have connected with you, that you've developed a relationship with them, that there's something about you that they identify with, that there's empathy, this will drive your sales.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's
back to business.
Yeah.
Back to business.
Okay. So if you're in business and if you want to be successful and if you want to be nationally or internationally successful, then you need PR.
Yeah, on top of all your social and online marketing.
I just think for me it wasn't an angle that I ever or it wasn't a tool that I'd ever thought about until, it's funny, isn't it? But now I realize, because my products are online, I suppose I wouldn't have thought about PR, but to be honest, I think you need PR no matter what type of products you have.
Yes, and well, you'll see, I mean, community organizations and not-for-profits and charities, they use PR all the time. And media are very receptive to them and will give them support. If you're a commercial entity, you really need to come up with a good story, a good angle, that is something unusual, that you're doing something different. Yeah. Perhaps you have statistics. Maybe you're bringing out the next new cure for Veruca, or whatever, but you need to be doing something different and you need to work on it. Maybe it's a thing that you need to enter awards. Maybe you need to start giving guest talks, and be involved in events that will be getting media coverage. So it's to increase your chances and your visibility to the media.
Okay, perfect. And I think as well, probably if someone works with you, you probably would you create like a PR calendar for the year for somebody?
Yes. And it's one of the things that I give out at the DIY PR workshop as well, that going through the seasons, even in their own, in one's own locality, if there's opportunities to get involved in something, maybe as a sponsor, a big connection into marketing, and then making sure that you get the PR out of it. So yes, absolutely, to work out your strategy and what angle you want to be seen as. Okay,
that's really important. Great, and someone else has just joined us. We're probably about to wrap up shortly. So I think we've kind of covered a lot. Is there anything else you'd like to cover, Máirín?
Well, I know when I was writing the checklist, of course, when I started off, I had 34 points. And I said, oh gosh, this is too long for people to want to read it all, because I thought all of it was very important. Yes. So I've reduced it down to 12 points, but there's loads more that I'd be willing to share.
Okay.
So I hope that will give people an idea, because I know it's kind of like a mystery, this whole PR thing, and when people, and my realization that you didn't realize how difficult it was to get coverage once we had the press release written. It's you're battling against every other hundreds of press releases that come in every day. So in order to make yourself and so visible to the media, and that's how social media can help now, because people can develop relationships through Twitter, online, through Facebook, and that's a great way of networking with the media, so as to chances of getting your coverage and letting them hear your story.
And actually, one thing that you had suggested, which I wouldn't even have thought of, was to invite some press to the event. And we did, and thanks to the Galway Independent, actually, who came to the event, and they actually gave incredible coverage of the event as well. So I wouldn't have even thought of inviting them. It just wouldn't have come into my radar. So it was a great suggestion, and even because it was an online thing, and obviously they've an interest now in online as well. Oh, you're welcome. Claire says, thanks very much for your time and advice. You're very welcome. We're just about to wrap up, Claire. So thanks a million. So it's I think it's been lovely chatting to you, Máirín. If anyone wants to get the checklist, just click on the link in the comment section. We're probably going to finish up. We're going to republish. This recording will be available on Blab. It'll probably be available as well on Máirín's website and YouTube channel shortly. So thanks, Máirín, for joining. It's been lovely chatting to you and talking about our lovely time working together. And thanks to everyone who's joined us. And no doubt, I think we'll probably do this again, maybe, Máirín, will we? Now that we've had your first one.
There's lots more to talk about. Lots more, and hopefully it'll help people as well with their businesses.
Brilliant. So thanks, everyone, and I will talk to you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.